What's up, traders? Welcome to the Day Trading Show. If you're new, my name is Austin Silver. I appreciate you being here. Today, I sit down with a good friend of mine, Edward. Edward's calling in all the way from Italy. He's an ex-semi-professional basketball player, a really successful trader. He's been in the game for almost 8 years, so you guys are going to learn a ton. Before we get into the episode, I want to let everybody know there's a link in the description for a 3-day free trial to ASFX TV. Now, if you haven't heard of ASFX TV, let me take a second to explain it to you. We are offering a service unlike anything else here. There's, again, a free trial, so you can come check it out totally for free. It's like the Netflix for traders. That's really what people are calling it, because you're watching live streams with us where we trade together. We call trades together. I did it this morning. But you also get to watch the recordings of those sessions, as well as some exclusive video tutorials that we post there that never make it to YouTube. So if you want to really get inside me, my head, get inside me. That's funny. That's a good joke for everybody to start off the episode. Get inside my head, Tom's head, James, and Evan as well, our team of funded full-time traders. ASFX TV is the place for you. No sexual references, just that funny joke. Enough out of me. Enjoy today's episode. All right, traders, welcome back. So today we are sitting down with Edward, the host of the Life is Bullish podcast. Edward was gracious enough to have me on with his team. What was that, like a month or so, 2 months ago? Something like that, bro?
Yeah, around a couple of months ago, yeah.
And we had a good time. Remember the sunglasses podcast? Remember that was pretty funny. But this will be good. We're gonna dive a little bit more into you, bro. Since you guys did such a great job at asking me questions, I wanted to bring you to my audience to introduce everything that you have, guys. Everything that you guys have going on. I know you just started a new Instagram page too, right? Where you're kind of like collaborating with other traders like myself. What is that called again? Elevate.
Yeah.
Right?
Elevate Group. Yeah. Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me here, man. It's amazing for me this is actually the first time I can share something about me in a podcast from someone else. So
yeah, because when you're the host
here
all the time, bro, everybody, you're asking the questions. Nobody has asking you the questions. So now we're going to flip the seat on you a little bit and see what you got to say. First, tell us about this Elevate Group, this new thing that you started.
I was thinking, a couple months ago, I was thinking, it would be good, instead of always looking, for beef with other traders, and there's a lot of drama sometimes on Twitter, on Instagram. I'm like, let's collaborate with the people that I resonate with and that I like the values that they share, and I like the trading stuff that they share. Doesn't need to be, the same strategies, doesn't need to be the same concepts, just needs to be someone that has its own way, its own audience, and, has integrity in the market. Yeah. So I decided to start this page and just repost other traders reels, other trader videos. And I thought this was a nice idea to kind of develop our image, our personal brand, if you want to call it that way. I'm really, other than trading, I'm really into entrepreneurship and investments. That's what I really like. I'm really excited about all these type of things. And I thought, it would be good to grow. It would be good to grow that page, not offer any service, just share valuable stuff from other traders, including me as well. And then at a certain point, we might just get together, maybe do an event, not necessarily paid event, just get people together, get people to know us, and also share valuable information. So that was my idea.
No, it's a great idea. I think it's what everybody needs. I know you saw my story this last week, and I was like about to get into it with some beef with some guy on Twitter who was poking at me, bro. But then I was like, you know what? Right now, bro, I feel like I'm not at the point where, like, how some guys, they get into this, bro, and they think if they start beef, it'll get them more popular. But when you're more popular off of that, is that really the popularity that you really want? I never wanted it. So now that we are becoming more established, and I think about some of the guests like you and some of the other big names that I have on the show, they don't want to deal with that. So if I start entertaining it, then it starts. So the spiral, it gets terrible. So it's good that you guys are going about it this other way of like just sharing value from real traders. Let's back up though, because I know some of the audience doesn't know your story. Remind everybody, how long have you been trading, and how did you get into trading? Like, what was the first thing that you saw where you were like, oh, I think I want to try to learn how to make money trading?
Right. So I actually have been trading for more than 8 years. In the beginning, it was just, something amateur. I just got to know trading kind of randomly. I want to start from the beginning. So at a certain point, I was 16, just turned 16. I was in the US, actually. And, I just wanted to start making money. I wanted to start making money. I had no money. I wanted to get out of the current situation that I was in. But I know that at the same time, it was kind of early, maybe if we wanna define it that way. At that point, you just Google online how to make money online, because what's the easiest way? Of course, I could have gotten a job, but at the same time, I was playing basketball and I was really going 100% in basketball. Like I wanted to make it. I wanted to play pro. And I was really working out all day. I was doing weights in the morning and 2 times practice per day, basketball practice. So I was really going 100% with basketball, but I needed money. So I needed money and I just Googled online. I didn't have no time to get a physical job because, I was working out all the time to get better and to try to make it with basketball. So I was like, how to make money online? Just Googled it. And of course, you get the usual stuff, like drop shipping, e-commerce,
right?
Right, trading, and also affiliate marketing, couple other things. So I was like, okay, what's the one that I can try? I don't know, this one, e-commerce kind of needs an investment. I don't really have money. Let's try trading. I had little money, just put the first couple $100 in the account. And, I say this and I want to repeat this, but actually, when you start trading, kind of seems like the market already knows that you are a new trader. So the first couple of weeks, they went amazing. I was like from $200 to $400, which is 100% return, but I didn't know anything about percentages. I was like, pips and money. So basically, I just made double the account. I was like, great, this is easy. Like if I double it every week, I'll be rich.
Right.
I'll be rich
Forget the NBA, forget the basketball. I'm just going to, right.
Right. So at that point, everything was going great. A couple of weeks, I doubled the account. And then, of course, in one trade, or maximum 2 trades, I remember it was JPY, I burned it. So at that point,
was it over trading it on that one day? Was it over position sizing? What did you do?
Over position sizing. I wasn't really getting into the state. Yeah, really.
Bro, when I first started, I was funding these accounts with like a $500, $100, small amounts. Mm-hmm. And I was going literally sometimes, because I didn't know what I was doing, all in on one trade. And then you'll get blown out and then you have to refund the account. It was just I had no idea of what proper trading was.
Right.
So I was saying,
same.
Yeah.
Same. So for a very long time, I actually had no idea what proper trading was. That's why I would say everyone has its own path, but it kind of took me 3 years to actually get what we call profitable. Then, of course, it's always a journey of getting better.
Right.
But it took me a long time because I didn't have the right mentorship, the right guidance, and I didn't just have in me the concepts of what was needed to actually be a good trader. So I went through all the stages. Over leveraging in the beginning, then I understood that it wasn't the case. I was burning the accounts all the time. Then it was over trading, fear of missing out, just all of these type of things that were preventing me to actually become a good trader.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is how I got started. And then
any courses or anything in the beginning? Like you said, you didn't have any mentorship. Were you like working with anybody like to teach you, or were you trying to just teach yourself?
Right. In the beginning, no. In the beginning, that's why, I had no guidance and it was bad. At a certain point from the market, I kind of understood what was needed in order to become better. But then I actually took a lot of courses. I was the kid, like imagine a 16, 17-year-old kid that, is trying to make the first money. And I had a couple bucks to invest in courses. It was actually my last money, but I was like, I don't really need it. I'm still living like with my parents and everything. So I'll just invest it in courses. I'll invest it in courses and try to get better. Dude. So that's what I did.
If you think about that real quick, that mindset at that age is what sets people like you and me apart. For real, because you're calculating risk. You're thinking, I have low expenses. Now is the time to go all in on myself, spend the extra money on trying to level up for the future. It's not like you were spending the money out at the club. I'm sure you were still doing stuff, but you were putting extra money towards bettering yourself versus even just trying to save it. Because when you save money, now with the investing, it's cash is dead, bro. It's dead. So you got to get it working. So to be investing in yourself, learning and trying to grow at 15, 16, bro, I think that's why guys like us make it at a younger age. You know, you reach some success at a younger age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I agree. Of course, it's about the years that you put in, the time that you put in, but then there is an element of taking calculated risk, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
I believe that everything, both, it's trading, risk-reward ratio, calculated risk, and then at the same time, it's in life, in investments, in everything. I believe every single day we have to take calculated risk in the choices that we make.
Yeah, I agree. So I didn't mean to cut you off. Finish what you were saying about the courses.
Yeah, I was saying,
What about
I was the kid that was in his room just all day. My eyes were burning by night, and I was just going all in with that. I was getting some courses, but there was not the information that there is now. Of course, there was some YouTube pages. There were some people online on Instagram that had some courses, and I was the kid that was going, on these Instagram pages and buying the course in the link in bio, basically.
What did you find before you go past this again? I want to, because these are good points, bro, that everybody I'm sure listening, they can relate to this. When you bought those courses, were they worth it? Was it valuable? Or did you think this guy's teaching me the same stuff that's on baby pips?
Right. I never ever asked for a refund. Never. It was, everything had its own unique lesson, I would say. Of course, some informations were repeated, but I will say that every single person had his own way of viewing the market. And even if many things maybe were repeated in some courses, I will say that the approach to the market and the mentality were still the things that I could have taken from that person. So I was always happy with what I bought. I never went crazy with, I always bought what I could have afforded to actually buy.
You weren't like, yo, give me my money back. This sucks.
No, never. Right. It was always, I believe there's always to take, whether it is
that's the right mindset, bro. Even if it's what not to do, right? This tells me what to do, but this could tell me what not to do.
And at the same time, if two guys are teaching the same thing, it's not their fault. Maybe they're trading the same, even though they're not really people that trade exactly the same, but maybe they have a lot of things in common. So how is that their fault? I don't know.
No, you're spot on. And if anything, I find when two people teach the same thing in a different way, it's probably a winning concept. It just is being explained in different ways,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, good.
So yeah, that was kind of the process in the beginning, and the first informations and how I started trading was with Fibs, just Fibonacci levels, market structure. Market structure, trying to understand where we were heading, and Fibonacci levels in order to get in at possibly good levels. So over there already, after quite some time, I think I went on. Now I don't remember the exact timing because it's been many years, but I believe that in 6 months, I kind of start understanding that it was not only about, the market structure and the fibs, but it was about me trying to still not over leverage, not over trading, because I was going crazy. I didn't have any rule in my trading plan. I didn't have a trading plan at all.
Right.
Nobody
did when they first started, bro.
Right. It was just, the fibs and the structure, and whatever trade that I will see, I will take it. And of course, it becomes bad when you don't have a clear set of rules that you need to follow when you're trading.
Yeah. So what happened from there? The courses started to stick, or was there somebody who was more impactful for you that was like, now let me shoot, like you really started to click? What was it that really made you start to see returns?
At a certain point, I just, I continued to educate myself. I continued to invest in myself all the time. Whether it was for trading or for investments as well, I always invested a lot into myself, whether it was with books, courses, everything. And at a certain point, I kind of had the opposite problem. In the beginning, I had no information. At a certain point, I had too many informations. Like everyone was trading in a different way. Everyone had different informations. And I just, I was seeing people make money, and I was like, why am I not making money? And I'm learning everything that it is needed to actually do it. So first of all, I kind of had to realize that, okay, I kind of need to differentiate between the people that are faking it, because there are some, and the people that are actually good. So that was the first step. And after that, most of them were good. I would say that I selected pretty well from who to actually get information from. And at that point, I just had a lot of information and I had to find what was working for me. So I just got on charts, I started backtesting, and I would say that the switch in my trading, there's not an exact moment, I would say, because it's always a process of getting better. But I would say that the moment was both from a chart point of view and also from a mindset point of view. The mindset was just, having a plan, being disciplined to actually, execute it and everything. We can talk about that, of course. But from actually informations about trading, it was when I just got on charts and I started back testing, which is the first step, I would say. Then, of course, you need to forward test, you need to do on the live market and everything. But I started back testing and I was like, okay, I'll take these concepts and I see how they work. I'll take these ones and I'll see how they work. After a long time of doing that, I started doing, kind of mixing them and see how they were working together, what things went well together.
Can you give a
things...
specific example? So like
Yeah,
for the
course.
listeners, like are you saying like you're combining a fib and a moving average? Like give us some more
Right.
context there.
Yeah, of course. So I was in the beginning combining the fibs with moving averages, just market structure. Then
That was a good guess, wasn't it, right there?
yeah. It was at a certain point. At a certain point, with all of these smart money concepts, things, I started putting things together. So I was like, okay, Fibonacci areas and supply and demand. Let's see how this is. Let's see how this works together. Then I was like, okay, Fibonacci's supply and demand areas and confirmations on lower time frames, which was not something that I was looking for before. I was not looking for lower time frame confirmations. Then I was like, okay, let's see how volumes can be helpful to actually get a confirmation, which were not helpful in that case. I didn't find any consistency with volumes as confirmation. Now I'm actually using them again after years, but at that point I just didn't see any confluence by having volumes.
And it can change. Some like for me, some things that have worked in the past,
Right.
now they become more important factors because of whatever
Right.
climate we're living through now. Were you always
Yeah.
Forex? We didn't clear that up. Is it always been Forex for you? Were you looking at gold indices? What was it?
It's always been Forex together with gold. I would say that I always traded gold as well. And lately, the last year, I started trading the DAX index,
Nice.
GR30.
No,
Yeah,
that's a
I
great
started
one.
trading that one and I really like it. I've been backtesting it with the current strategy that I'm using and I started trading that one. I see more consistency on that one. And that's why I'm trading most of the time, actually. I'm looking a lot at the DAX
Yeah.
index.
When you no, sorry, go ahead.
No, nothing. At that point, I was combining these things and I ended up actually excluding the fibs at a certain point, which were actually the main thing that I was focusing on
Well,
for.
I was gonna ask you, like, so when do you start piecing stuff away, right? Because now you're like, okay, now I have again too much information. So how were you able to narrow it down on what worked best? Was it just this is the best backtesting results? Let's try this now.
Yeah. Most of it were backtesting results and trying different combinations of things. As I said already, first of all, I was putting things together, and then I started backtesting the singular concepts, which of course by themselves is not a good way. First of all, I backtested the concept itself, and then I started pairing them together. So I'll give an example. For example, this is kind of correlated to what they call smart money concepts, whatever. So I started backtesting the change of Carter, for example, on lower time frames, which is just a change of structure, basically. And I was backtesting that one, and I was seeing how well it was working. And I was like, okay, of course, with nothing paired with this change of structure, cannot work so well. But how many times is it working? When it happens on charts, and how many times it is not working? So I looked at that and I started pairing it with, for example, key areas, and then after fib levels, and then after just fib levels plus the confirmation without the key areas. And then maybe I will put an extra input in, which would be, for example, imbalance areas or zones where the market moved freely, basically without any big impulse in the market. So I started pairing it with that one. And then I would just, pair a couple things together and try all the combinations between them without putting all of it together. And I would just see how that was working on different time frames. For example,
You're really doing it like science. Like, I don't mean to cut you off. You're just doing it like science, bro. You're like mixing and matching, trying to see how do you get to this. What were you looking for? Were you looking for a certain win rate or a certain amount of strike rate? Like, what were you looking for?
I was looking for anything that will make me profitable, just not, not at the limit, not like, that you have a 1-to-1 restore ratio and you have 51% accuracy, something maybe a bit. Looking to, for the things that will work the best and will give me the best consistency without it actually being up to my discretion. I don't know if it's the correct word, but without it actually being, I didn't want to put too much of my intuition or whatever you want to call it into it. I kind of just wanted something that I knew that if these things happen, I will take the trade. And if these things happen, I will close the trade. And if these things are happening, I will put the stop loss to break even and all of these things. After that, of course, I could have started developing what I don't want to call it intuition, but of course, I always say this when I do videos. I trained my eyes to see the same pattern. So maybe it is easier to recognize now the patterns that I want to look for. And one thing that I always say, and I really like doing it, and I still do it, is printing charts. I always have a pile of charts next to me on my desk. I have all the good charts and the bad trades that I take. But whether it is backtesting or also on the live market, I always try to print it out and I keep it next to me because, I kind of see the recurring pattern on the good trades. And I kind of see the recurring pattern also on the bad trades. So I kind of want to get my eyes used to seeing the bad pattern and the good pattern and be able to recognize it when I'm looking at charts.
It's smart. It's smart. When we also should, since we've talked about like the pairs that you trade and everything, what time zone are you? Because I know you're based in the Canaries, but now you're back home in Italy. Are you trading London and New York, or because of the time zone, are you just trading London? Like what sessions are you trading mostly now?
In this time zone, it's actually easy to trade both.
It's weird. You can get like a nice little nap in the middle of the day too.
Right. I give priority to London because I really like to trade in the morning after I wake up. I like to get straight up into like right away into trading. A couple hours with trading. I always say you don't need to stay all day in front of charts. A couple hours trading, and then I go on and go to the office, talk with the team, manage some investments, do some other things, work on some projects, and then if it is a time of the year where I have to manage less of these things, I also do New York, for example.
Yeah. With the lesser time, is that because the property management stuff slows down certain times of the year, so you have more time to trade New York when that's slower?
Yeah, let's say when I'm not looking into, is it restructuring or when I'm not looking into making the property better,
like fix and flip. We call it like a fix and flip. Yeah.
I don't actually do that, but when I'm not looking into fixing a property to start to rent it out, then, or I'm not looking to buy any, then I have more time usually. And also I just seen that, I give priority to London session, and I've just seen that what works the best for me is to be less hours on charts. Of course, I can be more hours, but to actually backtest and try to get better, but not to actually trade, because I don't like to be many hours on charts. Because one big problem for me was overtrading, as I said, and we've said this many times. But the more you look for trades, the more you'll actually see the trades, even if they're not there.
Yep.
So there was a big problem for me in the past, and I'm like, the less I trade, the more I'm selective, the more I can make money with this. Of course, losses are going to be there, but at the same time, I'm selective. I'll trade my patterns, and for example, today I had a loss minus 1%, and I'll move on tomorrow. I'll come back. Let's see what tomorrow gives.
Today was a red day for me too, bro, and a lot of the guys in my group chat too. I took a loss on SPX today. It's funny because I think when you get into trading, you would tell me what you think, because I know you talk to a lot of new traders, but so many people don't understand how important it is to be good at losing if you're going to make money trading. So what would you say? Let's speak to some of the newer guys listening. What would you say is good advice if you're trying to become a better loser?
Yeah, this was a big problem because I was not good at losing. I would, just like in basketball, when you lose the ball, you want to get it back right away. I would lose a trade and I would want to get it back right away.
And wait, but
But
it's a good analogy. What happens when you go try to steal the ball back? You probably end up fouling him. If it's
right,
at
you
the end
get
of
a
the
foul
game,
for
you get a foul, and then he gets baskets potentially. Now they get
yes,
points, and you
yes,
all because you were too aggressive. Just like in
yeah,
trading, you lose because you're
exactly.
too aggressive. It's a good
You
analogy.
make you make double mistake. You
Double
make two
mistake.
mistakes. Yeah. And I was doing the same in trading. You try to get it back and you do double mistake, as we
Every
say.
time. Every time. Yeah.
So yeah, this first of all, it is, I would say, a lot of people say, move on, close the charts, do something. First, I would say one advice that I will have is, of course, analyze the trade that you took and see if you followed your plan. Of course, if you didn't follow your plan, you need to follow your plan. You just need to say to yourself that you need to follow the plan because it is the only way to actually be good at trading. If you have an edge in the market and if you back tested and forward tested everything, I'm just saying it is the only way. So if you follow the plan, then at that point, you're analyzing your trade. You can say, okay, I could have done this thing better. I could have looked for this confirmation, or maybe everything was fine. I executed what I had to execute, and that's it. And then at that point, you can move on and come back the day after on charts. So for me, this is key. For me, this is key, as a lot of people that are starting to trade. It is important to actually, at that point, take a step back from charts. Of course, analyze it, try to get better at it, but then then it is all about actually executing the plan and putting him behind you and moving on to what's next.
Is that harder for you now as you're trading more money, or is it easier because you have more experience? Because I think this is one of the lessons that traders have to learn themselves. They have to touch the stove a couple of times to learn that it's hot. You know what I mean? Do you feel like now as you're trading with more money, it's easier to just take the loss and walk away versus when you kind of had to make money, you had less money to trade with? It's harder to take the losses then, right?
Yeah, even if I was losing maybe, $10, right now it's way easier to lose, even if I lose way more.
Right.
Because, I always say that you cannot only rely on trading, not because it is trading, but you cannot only rely on one source of income, because at that point you will just have a lot of pressure on you, and maybe your mind is not ready to actually take all the stress from just having to make one thing work and that's it. And if it goes bad, then it goes bad and you don't have anything else. So I was kind of putting basketball, my vision with basketball, and then at a certain point I went semi-pro. So I didn't go pro, I went semi-pro. I was still trying to make it, but I was making my first money with basketball here in Italy. And then at that point I was like, okay, yeah, I'm less nervous now. And right now I'm way less nervous because, of course, you differentiate your sources of income, you're more safe, and therefore it is easier to lose. But for the people that are starting out and maybe they are betting everything in trading, I would say I get a lot of DMs of people that want to quit their 9 to 5 in order to go full-time trading. Unless you are already making money with trading and you're making enough money, like a lot of money, then I don't think it's the right time to quit your job just to go full time. You cannot only have one source of income. So maybe while you have your job and while you're making money with trading, you try to create something else. Whether it is investments, passive investments, I don't know, real estate properties, or you can also differentiate between sectors. Maybe you go e-commerce, dropshipping, whatever. But I believe this is very important.
It's great advice, bro. I think it's the message that people don't expect guys like you and me to say, but it is the truth. And that's why we often tell people, like I know you heard me say it. We talked about it on the podcast with your show. Like, you got to have your money in the right spot or you're going to trade like a madman. You will not trade like the right trader. But when you have other money coming in from other sources, all of a sudden you start trading a lot better. It's pretty crazy, but it's the 100%. Same for everybody. When did you start diversifying into the investments? In this 8 or 9 years that you said you've been trading, when did the real estate and those properties come into play? Has that been something since the beginning, or did that happen after you were already profitable?
So I was always, it came a lot later, but I was always interested in it. So I was always, looking at people on social media, whether it was YouTube or Instagram, doing investments, real estate. I was really excited about real estate, and I'm still am. And like first thing where I invested was stocks. And it was actually a bit before COVID. I started doing an accumulation plan, on ETFs, actually ETFs. I started doing accumulation plan on ETFs. And the first bigger investment was stocks. When, as we were dropping, I invested into some companies that I believed that were good. And I had my criteria. So of course, at the same time, you need to have a strategy for stocks, just like in trading. Yep. I believe a lot of people need to understand that it is not just about trading. The strategy and the execution of the plan and the management of emotion is for stocks. It is for real estate. It is for everything. So I got into stocks, and I got nice entries on that drop during the COVID drop of the stock market.
The great dip buy, and it bounced fast.
Yeah. And because it bounced fast, I would say I made a mistake, but they were my first investments. And I was like, okay, from the people from which I'm learning, they're saying that the stock market usually gives you, 10% per year on average. And I just made 30% in 4 months. What am I going to do? And I sold everything. I took my money off, which was, according to the plan, was correct. Now, looking back at it, of course, we skyrocketed and we created new all-time highs and everything. So, of course, looking back, but at the same time, it was the plan. I executed the plan. I made money, and then with that money, I put it in the accumulation plan on ETFs, which I kept until 1 year ago.
That's awesome. Is it this, like, was that a moment where you looked at yourself and you're like, I think I'm more of a day trader than I am an investor?
Well, I always liked to view myself as an investor. I believe that also the perception of yourself is very important. So if I view myself as a good investor, I'm more likely to make good investment decisions, I would say, just like if I view myself as a good trader.
Sure.
So of course I made my mistakes, but the mistakes, I always viewed them as the path in order to get better and in order to become the best version of the investor that I could have been.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but of course, I made my mistakes.
We all have, but I feel like because like for me, when I've held stocks before, bro, I had a trade with, it was Virgin Galactic, and I was in it at $15 a share. It popped to like 60. I didn't sell any of it, and it came all the way back to 15. And when it came back to 15, I was like, this is not the way that I know how to operate money management. Like, you've got to take gains, otherwise you could give it all back. So then it popped again to like 55, and I got out at 55. And now I think if you look at it today, SPCE is worth 345, bro. 345.
Really?
That's $3.
How long back was it?
So if you look at the chart, I was in it 2020. So like I caught the first COVID pump with you. It came back in 2021. And then last time I was at 50, it was over $55 in June of 2021. So I was out of it, like that would be almost 2 summers ago. And that was the last time that I really bought stocks, because I felt like fundamentally, I felt like we could see a bear market. So I was like, no rush. But it also taught me a lot about myself. I was like, I think I'm more of a day trader. Like, I want to realize my gains. I would hate to hold imagine if you were holding an investment in Apple for 10 years, and then right when you need to sell it and you need to go to retirement, it's losing value. You could have realized so much more gains. So I think money management, you have to know yourself. You know what I mean? So that brings me to another question I wanted to ask you. You speak a lot about your beliefs, and I know on your social, you're very aware of like your belief system not really being swayed by other people or by what social media, what other people tell you to do. Where does that come from? Are you a religious guy? Like, where does your faith and your self-belief come from? Did your parents really motivate you and say you could do whatever you want? Like, where does that come from?
I would say, so I'm religious, but at the same time, I'm religious in my own way, I would say. I really believe that, you can do anything that you put your mind to. This is not just motivational stuff, but
100%.
I kind of saw it in myself, and I kind of saw it also in people that were walking the path with me.
Yeah.
When I talk with other entrepreneurs or traders, I see similarities in this thing. So I would say that when I was younger, it was not really from my parents, but I was confident for a very long time. And then at a certain point, maybe because it didn't go well with basketball, I also was by myself for a very long time. I had less confidence. I wasn't really, well, to be honest, I'll just be open about it. I wasn't really confident also maybe talking to girls. I wasn't really confident going out and being around people and all of these things. At a certain point, I understood that at that point, most of my beliefs were coming from family and people around me, just from repetition, just because at the end of the day, you get beliefs in two ways, either through emotions or through repetition. So if you keep hearing, the same thing about who you are, and you hear it from people who you give power to, so especially, my parents, because they had a lot of power, according to me, because they were the ones that were teaching me how to live, and they were the ones that were giving me the vision of how the world was. I would believe anything that they would say, and also anything that they would say about me. So if they would say that I wasn't a consistent person, I would believe that I wasn't a consistent person. Maybe first I would get mad. I would be like, what? Maybe I am. But if you hear it 1,000 times, you're going to end up believing it. And then if you actually hear it from people that you give power to, and then maybe you say a couple confirmations about it, it just confirms it in your mind. Just like when you look at good things, it confirms it. It gets confirmed in your mind once certain things happen, and then it becomes reality. So at a certain point, it was actually the lowest point in my life, I would say. I realized that most of my beliefs were coming from other people. And I was lucky enough to be in China for 2 months. I was in university. I was doing university here in Venice during that time. And I went into, here in Europe, we call it stage, but it's, you work for a company a couple months, and it is required in order to graduate from college.
We call it like a co-op. That's kind of what they call it here. Yeah.
Nice. So I was over there, and in China, no one was speaking English or Italian.
No, not at all, bro. You probably stuck out like a sore thumb.
Only one person was actually speaking, but I wasn't much with him. And at that time, I was able to actually reflect on all of these things that I kept hearing through the years. And it was 2 months in China, so it was a long time to actually reflect and think. And it's just you and your own mind.
That's it.
So at that point, I know it's mainstream to say, but I kind of reprogrammed myself. I kind of decided how I wanted to view myself and how I wanted to actually be. And I knew that if I would view myself, I kind of started understanding that if I would view myself in a certain way, I would end up becoming that person. Because, if you view yourself in that way, you are that person. So there was actually the switch point. And then after that, it was just a process of getting better. Of course, more informations were coming in. I was getting more information about all of these things, and I always tried to get better, and pairing it also with trading, pairing it with investments. I always want to view myself as, as all of the things that happen that maybe are bad are a way to get better, and all of the things that are happening that are good are a confirmation that what I'm doing is good.
Tell me more about that experience from China, bro. I'm sure everybody's like, what were you doing there? Yeah, you were in university, but like, what was that? Because it sounds like the confidence in you and you starting to see how important your belief system was. Seems like that came a lot from while you were in China. So what was that experience like? Tell us more about that. You were not trading at this time, correct?
I was trading, but I stopped for those 2 months. It's actually a very nice story, because it was the point where, I was already making some money with trading, but it was like, that side income while I'm still trying to make it with basketball. And I know that if I'm not making it with basketball, I'm doing university and I'll probably get a job after it. My goal was, to make some money with trading while I was in uni, and then my goal was to become a manager of a company because I was studying economics. I was studying business management in university.
Yep.
So that was my goal. And I went to China for these 2 months, and I stopped trading for those 2 months. I was like, you know what? I will not trade during these 2 months. I will just focus when I'm here. And once I come back, I'll finish my year of university, and then I'll go work, you know. So at that point, didn't do anything with trading, but it was the moment where I started working on myself. It kind of happened by itself, you know. Of course, I decided to do it, but I was there by myself. No one was speaking my language. I was just me and my own mind. And then I was reading a lot about these things, reading a lot about your mind and all of these things. And I was like, you know, all these things that I keep hearing about myself and who I think I am, and not being confident and not being maybe even disciplined and consistent. These are all things that I keep hearing from others. Who am I actually? I mean, I look back and I think, well, damn, a couple of years ago, or maybe 1 year ago, I was working out every single day for hours in order to get better at basketball. So how am I not consistent? I mean, I'm working out every day to get bigger, to get faster, and everything in order to be better. How am I not consistent? And then at that point, I kind of started seeing more confirmations about all of these things that I kept hearing from others, which maybe weren't true. It just depends on which things you want to look for. And once I came back from China, I was like, I'll just try trading for a month before I start uni, because there was still 1 month in summer before starting. So I started trading again, and I made the biggest amount of money that I've ever made before in a month, which was, if I can share, which was at that point 3,000 euros. I mean, for me, it was a lot. At that point, it is.
You tasted the success and you were like, now I need more.
Right. And here, in Italy, 3,000 euros is double the average income.
That's great. So it's a lot.
Yeah. So I was like, maybe I'll keep going. During this year, I'll keep studying, but I'll keep going. And then in 6 months, everything changed, because I paired my trading and, of course, all the systems and the back testing and everything and the hard work in trading together with the belief system that I had, and actually working on myself and how I think I was. And I kind of saw the biggest growth during that period.
It all came together. It makes me think of the point, like, so many traders who have been trading for a long time will say, at certain point, looking at a chart is not going to give you the answers that you're looking for. Once you can do technical analysis with whatever indicators and stuff you're doing, then it's all psychological. So it's almost like doing that work in China, bro, on yourself, the self-work that is what you needed in order to succeed. I would argue if you had not gone to China to do that, bro, it would be hard to say where trading would be for you right now,
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it was a key point. Also because, I believe isolation, of course, I'm not saying to isolate yourself, not be with anyone all the time, but I believe that at least if you're trying to make the switch, if you're looking for success, whatever you want to call it, success that you think how success is, you need a time, can be 1 month, 2 months, whatever you need, but you need a time to actually think about yourself, who you think you are and who you want to become, and kind of view yourself as that person. And it takes time, and it takes also not being affected by external inputs. And in order to not be affected by external inputs, you need to be by yourself for some time.
No, I love that. I agree, because I think when you are by yourself, a lot of thoughts definitely come to the surface, but I think you're really probably at that point testing. Are you really passionate about trading, or is it something else? You know what I mean? And when you do that type of self-work, like, bro, the guys that are most passionate about sports, they do the best in it. Like Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, they are definitely most passionate, right? Same thing in basketball, same thing in trading. What do you think now? Because you're not playing baskesketball now, you're just doing your trading, you're doing your other stuff. How important is community to you now, with your community that you've built with your trading business? And is it only there because you know how important community is when you're on a basketball team? Like, has that been a motivator for you to kind of Because like for me, bro, I miss sports. Like
Hmm.
I played soccer, I ran track. I
Nice.
miss being on the team. And I look at the guys that I trade with in Discord every day. They're like my team. Do you feel the
Yeah.
same way? Like, is that like kind of where you get that sense of camaraderie? Like back when the boys would be playing ball and you were like,
Nice.
giving each other
Yeah.
the one up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was just talking yesterday night with a friend that I used to play basketball with, and he asked me, "Do you actually miss playing?" And I was like, "Well, playing, yes, a little bit, but you know what I miss the most? I miss the most, the changing room because we all go crazy in the changing room. It was
Bro,
funny. Yeah,
so
it
true,
was.
bro. So the,
Yeah,
the, the camaraderie, the team.
yeah, the
Yeah.
team, right? So you it out. Yes, I mean that's actually I kind of get that sense of being together and building something together, going after a common goal with the community. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say absolutely.
Do you feel like without the community, you wouldn't be consistently growing and improving because the community brings new ideas? Or do you feel like you're at the point now where like you can do this kind of on your own? Do you think the community is going to be something you always need?
I love having a community for multiple reasons. Of course, I'm super thankful to them because from many of the members I get ideas. They contact me, maybe they tell me that there is this thing. Oh, Edward, look at this video. So they also help me. I mean, I'm not the only one bringing maybe value to them, but they also bring value to me. So
Right.
this absolutely. And the other thing which I believe is super important to me, I actually trade better when I'm explaining stuff. So if before getting on charts and trading, I analyze a chart and I try to explain it to the members. I kind of get into the mood of trading. I don't know how to explain it, but I kind of get okay. It's not only in my mind, but I'm actually explaining it with words, and I'm actually pointing it out in charts and everything, and I'm explaining it to someone else. And the best way to learn something is to teach it. So this is in some way, of course, you need to know what you're talking about, but you just reaffirm the stuff that you know, and it just sticks in your mind. So I would say that, yeah, having a community just gets me going with trading.
It's a great point, bro. I think people probably also think the guys who run the trading communities, they think that they don't need to that they're the gurus at the top. It's like, no, we have the community so we can have other people to collaborate with. We're not the only one, like you
Yeah,
said, leading the way, so to speak. We lead the way as a group. We move together as a group. We share information, we share resources. And I feel like it's kind of ignorant to think that one person, especially when it comes to trading, you could just do it all on your own. I don't know any successful traders that would say they have no community, no contact with other people. They are like
yeah,
just off on their own on an island making money. No way.
yeah,
Everybody's
right.
got people. Yeah, no way. So let me ask you this, Edward. Do you have any advice that you could go back right now? Because after all the experiences you've had through China, professional basketball, semi-professional basketball, now running the trading business, moving to the Canaries, buying real estate, you've had a lot of experiences. What would you give if you had to give one piece of advice to your younger self? What would you say? And don't
My
say something
younger
silly
self.
like dunk that ball in game 4 so we win the game. No, no, no.
This is actually a great question, very, very deep question, and there are many advices. There are many advices, but I want to start from the point because I was thinking about this the other day. That when I look back, of course, I could have done certain things better. Of course, there are always better decisions that I could have made, but this is part of the process. And I was looking back, and I was thinking that at the end of the day, the 17-year-old me is almost a different person. It wasn't me as I know myself now. It was, I looked different, I acted different, I thought different. And I'm just super grateful to, looking back, I will just thank myself for actually, putting in the work and do what was necessary. So to all the people watching, one piece of the advice that I will give is just to show up for yourself every single day. If you need to do the things and in order to go after your goals, show up for yourself every day. Of course, you also do it, then you can have bigger goals for others. But I believe that first, this is just my belief, but first, you do it for yourself in order to also do it for others later.
That's very, very good advice. But I will tell you, it's hard for people sometimes because you are a very disciplined person. You're a very committed, hardworking kind of guy. Some people lack that motivation and they look to people like you for that motivation. So if that would be the piece of advice that you would tell yourself or tell a younger person, where are you sending, like, with your extra free time, your extra free energy now, where are you sending your thoughts? Are you thinking about getting bigger in your trading, or are you thinking about expanding your real estate empire? Or are they both happening at the same time? Like, what does that future look like for you? How do you see? Because you've talked about how you built yourself in your mind to this point
Yeah,
today, but now where are you building yourself in your mind for 6 years from now, 5 years from now?
that's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah, I'm viewing both the trading business and also real estate all together growing. I'm really into real estate, I would say, as you mentioned. And I see all of these three things growing. I want to always get better as a trader. Try to, of course, there is no 100% accuracy thing. There's no 100% accuracy strategy, but always trying to, get my edge even better.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we have trading businesses as well. So I want to grow my community. I want to maybe launch new projects and be a leader on that industry as well. Because, I want to do a quick parenthesis, but I would say 1 year and a half ago, I was making, good money with trading, and of course also with the community because they were paying for my mentorship. The two things combined, I was pretty happy with it. I already had some properties that were put in my bank account, some rent. So I was like, I'm fine, I'm chilling. I don't need to do anything extra. And at that point, it was actually one of the lowest points when I had no ambition. When I had no ambitions, I was actually feeling the worst. And that kind of lasted for 6 months. And I was like, and you know why I stopped and I slowed down to actually and to actually have less ambition? When I stopped and slowed down to actually look for happiness. So I was like, yeah, okay, now that I'm kind of set, that I'm making good money, I have my real estate and everything, I will slow down and look for what makes me happy.
It's interesting. And then by looking for
And
what makes you happy, it ended up making you bored.
yes, not only bored, but actually, if we want to define it, sad.
Sad.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unfulfilled.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. That's
Yeah.
very interesting. So it's
Yeah.
like you've learned that you feed off of the hustle, and really you feed off of like anything you can work at and get better at. I have the feeling you and me are the same, where it's like you don't even want to be the perfect basketball player, because if you were perfect, then there would be nothing to work for. You want to keep getting in the gym. All right. Did you ever hear the story, bro, about Kobe Bryant? How he said like every year he would have one thing that he would focus on the whole year to get better. Did you ever hear that?
No, actually, I never heard about it.
Yeah, bro. I think you
Tell
can
me.
look it up. There's a guy named Patrick Bet David. I watch his podcast
Ooh.
every day, and he interviewed Kobe in person. And I think it happened in that interview. I might be wrong on that, but he basically is like talking to him about how he made improvements. And Kobe explains, 1 year we decided we're working on threes from the corner. And that was what they
Wow.
drilled a lot more than other things, threes from the corner. Next year, left hand layups or whatever it is. Each year, just one piece of the game. So over 15 years, you can be a well-rounded player. But it's like that love of the continuous improvement in every little aspect. That is what made Kobe happy. That's what makes you happy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I think that's what makes good traders do well consistently, because they love the process of trying to get better every day, right?
100%, yes. And that's why, if you ask me, that's why I also started the podcast and then started, new projects and all of those things, is because, at a certain point I was like, okay, looking for happiness didn't make me happy. And when was I the most happy?
When you were doing everything.
When I was doing everything, when I was going crazy, when I was, on charts, backtesting the whole day, maybe looking for stocks, studying a new course, studying communication, and just going crazy with 1,000 things together. Then I had to get better under that point of view also, to focus on the most important things, but that's another aspect. But yeah, and at that point I was like, let's start new projects. Let's do things, because yeah, what makes me happy is actually trying to grow things and seeing them work, and also seeing them not work, and therefore forcing me to get better. Because honestly, I was not great communicator, and I don't consider myself now a great communicator, but I consider myself as someone who's working to actually become a better communicator.
I love that, bro. I
So
think you are a
yeah,
great communicator. I think you're a great listener too. I think that's something that all of us are working on too, is not just being better communicators, but being better listeners too, right?
thank you, man. Thank you.
100%. Um, Tell me, who is you don't get to explain this, just an answer. Who is the most impactful trader that you've ever spoken with or ever learned from? Read a book, video, just give me a name. You can
Oof.
think on it for a second. So everybody listening, while he thinks about this, you're going to be able to then take this, hopefully, and go do some deep diving. And I will just remind everybody, well, I'll give Edward another second to think. You can link with Edward on all the projects he's doing. I'm going to put the links in the description to this video, wherever you're watching, so you can get with him on Twitter, on Instagram. There's a couple different accounts, the podcast account, all that. So, all right, I bought you some time. You got an answer?
It's hard to pick one because everyone has its own lessons, and everyone trades differently. But do you mean someone that I studied from, or
Anything.
someone that I got in contact with?
Yeah,
because
it could be somebody you studied from. Yeah.
Because to be honest, if you ask me that I got in contact with, I have a couple answers, and it's because I want to give the reason before.
Okay.
But when I started my biggest page, which is EdwardXL, it was 5 or 6 years ago, and there were only few pages on Instagram, and not like right now that is full of Instagram pages.
Right.
And the guys that I was following, and the only ones that were sharing great value and great lessons, to be honest, were you, FalconFX, and that's it. I mean, and yeah, so if I don't have one answer, but I really looked up to connect with you and FalconFX.
Well, that's crazy, bro. I didn't expect you to say that. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
All right. So now here's my next question. You ready?
Yeah.
Who is the most impactful podcast guest? And you can't say me. So who was the most impactful podcast person that you sat down with? The most interesting, most impactful, best episode that you enjoyed, if you had to pick one?
This podcast. Trader or in general?
Trader. Because I know in general you're going to say that Andrew Tate looking guy.
You saw that one, yeah?
Of course, bro.
Trader, interesting trader. It's when you ask me to pick one, those are the most difficult questions for me. But anyway, I talked with Anmol Singh. He's a trader from New York.
I know Anmol very well.
Yeah. And it was super interesting, both from a trading point of view, because he trades stocks, and also his side businesses. He used to trade watches, which is something that I was looking into. He also owned some real estate in India, which was a very interesting conversation. So yeah, I would say
okay, that's a good one. I didn't know you interviewed him. I'll have to go check that out. And now everybody listening, we have an episode that we could start with.
He's coming out, actually. He's not
it's not out yet. Okay, so it's coming out. Nice. All right, good. So we'll all keep an eye out for that one. When do you know when that's coming out? Because this episode probably will be out like in May, sometime in May. So will it be out around the same time?
It's going to be out tomorrow.
Okay, cool. Perfect. All right. So it'll already be out. Great. Good deal.
It will be out.
I love it.
Great.
Beautiful. All right, bro. So listen, this has been great. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. I would love to stay on for another 2 hours and talk strategy and more trading stuff, but we'll save that for the next video. So everybody listening, watching, number one, make sure you go give Edward some love in the comments. Number two, make sure you connect with Edward. His links are in the description. And number three, if you have any questions for him that you want us to cover in a future podcast, in a future conversation, make sure you DM me or him or put it in the comments below so we can make sure we answer that for you guys. But Edward, this has been good, bro. Now we're 1 for 1. Me on your show, you on my show. I think what
next time in person.
Oh, dude, you've been great. I think what we need to do though is we need to set up some type of like virtual roundtable, bro. Like you, me, and a couple of the other young trader guys from all over the world. We need like a big podcast with all of us at one location in one video. So I'm gonna reach out.
That's a great idea.
I'm gonna set it up. I'm gonna reach out to some guys and try
For
to make it
sure.
happen, make a big thing together. And I'll try to like maybe we'll run it like a debate. We didn't even talk about prop firms or any of that shit today, so we'll have to get into that in the next episode. But I
For
think
sure.
that'll be the next step for us. So yeah, bro, it's been great. You're awesome. I appreciate you. Anything you want to close with?
No, thank you so much for having me, man. It was a pleasure. It was great. Thank you.
Dude, you're the man. I appreciate you. I will chat with you soon. And for everybody listening, watching, we appreciate you very much. We'll see you in the next episode.